Love and Death. Myth and Love Calls Us to the Things of This World. Introduction. Myth and Love Calls Us to the Things of This World both convey the theme of fluidity between life and death, and that there is only a gray area between the two in the larger existential picture. Both poems describe worlds that lie between waking and sleeping consciousness as not very far apart or at times indistinguishable. The poems point to the fragility of life and its proximity to the unconscious or alive as proof that death is a necessary part of a continuous cycle. Life, and therefore love, would not exist without death. Life and death are fluid and deeply intertwined. Poem 1, Myth. In Myth, the speaker loses a loved one in a very painful and sudden way. The suddenness of this loss and fragility of life are reflected when the speaker analogizes this person's passing, saying, "It's as if you slipped through some rift, a hollow I make between my slumber and waking." This analogy describes how vulnerable and powerless the speaker feels while sleeping, as the physical truths of the world will always shatter the illusions of dreams. They could be struggling with the way in which their loved one passed, or something more abstract like the ideal life of their dreams. That fades as the light of conscious world takes over. The speaker's struggle is a reflection on the suddenness of death and the fragility of life, especially when it only exists in dreams. This poem also conveys the cyclical nature of the experience of death. The speaker mournfully reflects, "You'll be dead again tomorrow." This is a very explicit and direct use of a metaphor. A deceased person can only be kept alive as a memory or in a dream, which conflicts with the waking reality of the situation. In a way, the speaker is right, and the person they lost will die all over again. This is how many people who experience deaths of loved ones deal with the emotional devastation it brings. To some, the brief glimpse at what they've lost truly outweighs the grief brought up by its inevitable dissolution. With this philosophy, life and death are just sides of a swinging pendulum that works to transition all things between their proper states of being. Nothing can live or die forever under this cycle. Poem 2, Love Calls Us to the Things of This World. Love Calls Us to the Things of This World describes the seemingly mundane action of doing laundry being whisked away before the speaker's eyes in a sort of idyllic daydream. Ultimately, the experience reminds him of his proximity to the spiritual world, while teaching him about the importance of his physical body, which is necessary to bring spiritual goodness and fulfillment. In his daydream, he describes the angels he sees, saying, "Now they are flying in space, conveying the terrible speed of their omnipresence." He seems to be terrified by the angels' power and presence at first, before understanding the meaning of his vision by personifying his own soul, saying, "The soul descends once more in better love to accept the waking body." In this moment, the unreal and real, and even the alive and dead cease to be separate ideas, as the soul reconnects with the body and returns to the world enlightened. The juxtaposition of pure beings like angels doing laundry shows that even holy beings have some inherent dirtiness or sins to be absolved, drawing the connection between the human and spiritual worlds that much closer. Conclusion. Both poems describe the fragile veil between living and unreal which defines waking reality. The fragility of consciousness and life is a constant reminder that, while life and death may seem distinct, it is impossible for one to exist without the other, and they are not so dissimilar. Life and death are necessary and interconnected components of the existential cycle as a whole.